All right, greetings and salutations, test takers. Welcome to my long journey into night. I had taught a class all day, and now we're doing the live stream Q&A. So, long day journey into night with no better wingman guest than our always VIP, Brian Lee, the Test Geek himself, managing member of Test Geek Exam Prep. If you're looking for some help, Series 7 Guru and the Geek, we're in the house. We'll take care of some housekeeping, and then we'll take care of answering any contact questions we can help you with. Somebody said, can we ask you anything? And I go, well, I don't know about anything. Should be FINRA NASAA related. Tell us what series exam you're taking us, where you're joining us from. We've had people join us from as far away as India. We get quite a few people from Brazil, Europe. So we get some locals. I doubt I'm going to get any locals from my off-grid location, but might get some locals. If you do have a question for us, it's helpful for Brian and I to know what exam you're asking about, because there's a lot of overlap, and then the way they test could be different depths based on that exam. It's not necessary, but helpful if you tell us SIE 7. Sometimes Brian and I can figure it out by the nature of the question you're asking, but it is helpful if you put it in that format. If you're looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, there is no better free supplement than your paid materials than my YouTube channel. I've organized it in series playlists. So you find your series, SIE, for example, you'll through 3 playlists. There's a podcast series, there's lectures, and then there's practice test and practice questions. Those are in suggested watch order. The videos are in suggested watch order. If you're looking for a particular topic, use the channel search bar. You don't want to find a needle in a haystack. And if you put in accrued interest or margin, or, Brian and I get asked the same question over and over and over again. It's okay. We're going to answer it tonight, Brian. We know we're going to get a question that we've answered probably 6 times. But you can also go into that channel search bar and put accrued interest or margin or performance-based fees, whatever it is you're looking for, and what content we have available will magically appear. So don't forget to use the channel search bar. If you're looking for a paid supplement to your study materials, there is no better paid supplement than a Kaplan QBank. Any Kaplan product you'd like to purchase, I recommend a QBank as a paid supplement, all the products. The 15% discount code at checkout is Guru15. And then if you combine that with Brian's video courses, boy, if anybody is a master of distillation and, taking those 1,000-page textbooks and, 3,600 practice questions and distilling into what you definitely need to know and nothing more, nothing less, it's Brian. He's been kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount as well. And that's Guru 20. And that gets you all in on Brian's content, videos, PDFs, practice tests for about $100. I think that's a great investment. About 60 for the QBank. You're looking at 160 for a total investment. We're here every Tuesday doing our jam session, doing our Ask the Series 7 Guru, whatever you want to call the podcast. We also do a Q&A jam session on the paid booking page that's free, and you can access that jam session at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. If you win the drawing this evening, I don't know how to make this any clearer. People still get confused. You do not win an hour of tutoring with me at a date and time of your choice. No. What you win is a free coaching call that also can be accessed on the booking page. So when you win, you go to the booking page, you look for coaching call for weekly winners. You hit the button, it'll register you, and then I'll show up magically, and we'll talk about whatever you want. We just put up a coaching call from the last winner. She had some QIDs she wanted to discuss, and we did that. So if you want to get an idea what that looks like, just check out that coaching call. We have other communities. We have our Facebook community called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks, coming up, Brian, on 1,000 members. Woo! Baby Brokers Term of Endearment, for rookies in the securities industry. Hat trick 3 test-taking victories in a limited time frame. SIE 766, SIE 663, you get the idea. We have our Reddit communities. We have our Series 6 That's for the Series 6. We have our Series 7. That's for the SIE and Series 7. We have 66, our Series 66. That's for all the NASA exams, 63, 65, 66. And we have our Series 24. That's for 9s, 10s, 24s, 53s, 57s, 79s. Hike. So, if you miss our live stream, it is available as a replay, as a podcast on both YouTube and Spotify. All right, let's see, Brian, what we got going on.
Let's do it.
What we can help people with. Are we able to join the call? I'm not sure, Karen, I understand that. You're here and you are joining. Are you asking, are we going to open up this audio to our other people? The answer is no. So, but feel free in the chat to tell us what you would like to ask. I'm not sure what you're asking about joining the call. If you're asking about joining free activities besides this free activity every Tuesday, on the booking page, there are a couple free activities there. There's a Q&A jam session. You can actually watch a replay of that. That's free. You have to go through the booking page. Everything on the booking page is primarily something you got to pay for, with these exceptions I'm telling you now. We also have the coaching call. If you win it, that's on the booking page and is available. Sometimes I'll offer that as a scholarship, perhaps. And then we do have a book club. We're doing a source code from Bill Gates's memoir. I apologize, but all the free activities get preempted for paid activities. So I've had to move that book club meeting several times, and I took it down. I'll put it back up, and I got to figure out how I can turn down paid activities. But if a guy's going to pay me $275 an hour, then the book club gets moved. Hi, Dean. I failed my third attempt. Jeff. Oh my God, that hurts. God, that hurts. I'm committed to the business. I think you should. Remember, Jeff, this is a sign, a test of your resiliency, right? Maybe you're going to become the Job of Series 65, and the blessings will come, and maybe they're just going to be a little more challenging for those blessings to come your way. I'm sure they will. And so you just got to, I love your attitude. Just keep at it. 6 months and come back and get this. I always joke, Jeff, if you're poor and you deserve to be rich, the securities industry is a great industry, but there is a barrier to entry into the industry, as you know, and one of those barriers is these damn exams. So don't get your self-esteem wrapped up in it. There's a lot of people who pass fail 5-6 times. I'm committed to, there we go. We talked about that. By the way, Jeff, I would give yourself time to just refresh and reset. So I think you got a great attitude, but I want you to just, there's no sense trying to stay powered up for 6 months. So, do some reading, get plugged into the Wall Street Journal, watching CNBC, reading some books, that kind of thing. Kind of do that. And then about 2 months out, that's when we put the pedal to the metal again. Indiana, Hoosier in the house. Hoosier. How do you pronounce it? Taking my 66 Friday, taking Kaplan Sims, all looks good. Test Geek 79, Brian. I know people don't like this when we say, some people like it. There is positive correlation to the actual exam from Test Geek. So for you, Joy, that's good news. But boy, I get so frustrated in social media when somebody doesn't do well on Brian's exam and then they start throwing rocks at Brian. I'm like, look inward, my friend. The score has nothing to do with Brian. The score has to do with your readiness to take the test, accept it, remediate, move on, right? So every once in a while, and usually, Brian, as I tell you, this is what, I think Brian's exam practice tests are great on the correlation. But Brian, where this usually comes from is the variance they are receiving from the other test providers. And so, they're getting an 80, 85, feeling good, and you should. And then I say, hey, Joy, those scores look pretty good, but go grab that Test Geek exam. She says 79. I go, woo! Sometimes I say that, and oh my. Series 7 from New Jersey. All right, I've got a Jersey bro in the house. 66 in the building. All right. 7 from Utah. All right. I'm going to take my Series 24 retake on Friday. We've had some good results on 24 of late. I have a guy. I don't usually let people run tabs with me, but he's got a tab, and I felt pretty good about him, Brian. So I said, I'll tell you what, we'll settle up after you pass on Tuesday. And I'm thinking, oh, you better pass because, well, you're overwhelmed with trade reporting facilities, alternative trading systems, consolidated quotation service. No. If you tell me you missed your 24 mark because of any of those, I'm going to say you had bigger problems. Brian, your thoughts on those as testable content on the Series 24?
Yeah, they're probably not definitional. They're far more application. I have a pretty good map of what those secondary markets look like in my class notes on my video course. That helps kind of puts all that stuff in context, where all that stuff.
I think if you're going to get this, what I would tell you is make sure that in most circumstances, you know the sell side reports in 10 seconds. I would certainly want you to know about trace. I don't see that here, but you're definitely going to get tested on the trade reporting and compliance engine. You definitely need to know that's dual side reporting. You definitely got to know you got to report within 15 minutes. And you know FINRA releases that immediately public. So that's what I would tell you. So don't let it bother you. Stay on the broad avenues and highways of 24. Series 7, all right. I think we just talked about that. I love it, Jeff. That's the right attitude. I can't wait till you get this thing done. You slay this 65 dragon, and then we talk to you maybe years later, and we find out how well you're doing in our industry, helping people with their investments. And so it's not over. So you lost a battle, but remember the war still goes on. Round 2 in 30 days. Love it, Ronnie. I love it. I'm in the 78 scores on simulated exams on the 63, but I'm aiming to get the 66. But I thought to just get the 63 and find out how I'm doing a test anxiety. What are your thoughts? I don't know. If I were your corporate trainer, I'll answer it from that perspective. I'd say, well, we don't need to practice that bat here, I don't think. I would have encouraged you to just go take the 66 because the regulatory questions on the 66 overlap the 63. But I guess I would add to this. If that's your choice, then remember you have another arrow in your quiver if you do run into difficulties on the 66. Because with the 63 arrow already in your quiver, you can get a 65, and that would be the equivalent. Your thoughts, Brian? I just think it's weird to try and take a test.
Yeah, what I'm thinking, if I read between the lines, this is probably someone that's not quite associated with a firm yet, taking these tests on their own.
Oh, okay.
Don't need to be affiliated to take those two. And if you have or know you have some test anxiety, the 63 is probably not a bad idea if you do that prior to the 65.
Yeah, I would tell you that Brian is correct. Christian, is it Christian or Christian? I hope I apologize if I can think quite right. What I would add to that is if you are taking exams without sponsorship, because NASA exams, SIE do not require sponsorship, I would just give you a heads up that the 66 does not work in and of itself without a broker dealer, whereas the 65 does. So in other words, with a 65 only, you could get a job as an investment advisor rep at a fee-based investment advisory like, Fisher Investments or something. So that would be the thing I would add. All right. We don't have any bell rings yet. Yeah. I mean, the bell's here. It's ready. It's ready. So we'll ring. I'll tell you what, Joy, can't wait till next week when I pass. Okay. Well, Joy, why don't you tell me what your practice test scores are? Maybe I'll ring the bell in advance of your testing victory. Hi, Brian, Dean and Brian. I just sent you an email pertaining to a one-on-one coaching about my SIE missed 9 times. I apologize. I don't know about Brian. I am not a flake, but I had somebody today, Brian. I get so many Antonio unsolicited emails that some days it is just impossible for me to keep up. And they do fall through the cracks. And feel free to nudge me. I will, Antonio, make a note, and after this, I will go back and put you in the search bar and see if that email, pops back up. If my email address, Antonio, is series7guru at guruexamprep.com or dean@guruexamprep.com. So that if you send it to either one of those emails, you send it to the right place. Brian, I think, is Brian at testgeekexamprep.com, right?
Yep.
I think.
I got the same issue. It's hard to keep up every day. Yep.
It just hurts my heart because, Brian and I have talked about sharing, Antonio, maybe sometime, trying to figure out how we could share some kind of administrative assistant, because we don't want to be test prep vendors. So we're not interested in taking on Kaplan or Pass Perfect or STC. But I always tease Brian. I mean, we're in this weird time. I feel like Brian, sometimes in this tweener zone where I got to decide to dial it up and, hire an assistant or dial it back just so I can keep up with the stuff. So I do sure. Why not, Jeff? Remember, you're going to need sponsorship for the 66, but you get 3 more shots on all that stuff. That makes more sense, I think, in your situation. So if you're right now, just go do it. I mean, if you came close, I forget what you said your score was, but why not? Why not? Before you refresh and reset. So if you're going to do that before you take the break I was recommending, right? Go take a 66 and a 63, see how you do. There we go. Woo! America, give him away. Well, Jake, I know you're kidding, but woo! We've helped Brian. Brian and I have had the honor and privilege of helping. I don't know, Brian. What do you think? Tens of thousands of people.
Tens of thousands.
I mean, we are, Jake. I listen. Before I got on social media, Jake, I didn't know I had haters. I'm sure I probably did, but I just didn't know they were out there. Now that I'm on social media, I have peers. I guess they think they're my peers or Brian's peers, and they're haters. And every once in a while, I feel like I'm saying, "Come on, I've been doing this for 30 something years. I got more time in the shitter than you've got in the securities industry." So, that's a Marine Corps saying. So, okay. What do you think? How many years, Brian? I think we did the math one time.
Yeah, I started with Dearborn. You were already with them in 1995, so it's 30 years this year for me.
Times 2, so we're talking 6 decades of helping people. It's very gratifying that we get the opportunity to help people because the securities industry is great. As I say a lot, if you're poor and you deserve to be rich, there's no better industry than the securities industry. And to be able to help people get in and help other people with their investments, their financial freedom, as well as those test takers and see what they do with these registrations. It's just, like I say, it is an honor and a privilege.
Do you think we ever foresaw in 1995 doing live streams and video courses and YouTube
right on,
videos?
Brian. Brian's got his whiteboard and I have mine. Of course, I don't use it anymore. It's now a place to hang my bowls and my globes and anchors and my ASU stuff. But we are, old school. You're stand and deliver guys. And so to answer Brian's question, I started the YouTube channel when COVID hit, Brian, and I thought, am I ever going to get to teach a live class before? Now, Brian was already on YouTube and had his video courses long before Dean showed up on YouTube. But when I started that YouTube channel, I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to ever teach a live class. I didn't even know that you could monetize YouTube channels. I had no idea. So I just hit the plug and record and did kind of my live lectures in a video format. And when I started, everybody told me who knew anything about social media, nobody's going to watch a video that's longer than 10 or 15 minutes. And, I have videos that are 3-4 hours. Unbeknownst to me, Google loves long format videos. So they like the watch time. And then they called me, got Google. I didn't know this. They said, you can monetize because I didn't have them monetized. You could just watch them for free. And Google reached out and said, hey, do you know that we'll pay you if you let us run ads on your videos? I go, okay. So, now, Brian, they keep reaching out to me. They want me to sell coffee cups and T-shirts, and they want me to have like channel memberships where you pay extra. And I just say, listen, guys, I'm kind of happy with what I'm doing. And the bell-shaped curve, huh?
Read the next comment.
Oh, you're front running on me, huh?
Yeah.
On the exam, I was very clear on some of the answers that I know, but it was not an answer stage. What the heck? What do I do in a situation, specifically when they're asking me, okay,
I'm
straddle?
sorry. It was the prior one about
Oh, okay.
he had
Okay.
passed my test but missed the real test by 3 points.
Oh, okay. What
So
are we going to
I
comment
was
on
I
that?
was going to show him the normal distribution curve.
Yeah. That's surprising. That's surprising.
Yeah,
Um,
I aim for within 5% of what you score on the test.
yeah.
That's kind of the best you can do.
Yeah.
If you can get within that, but again, just like anything else with statistics,
Yeah. That's called
there's
variance, right? And so,
exactly.
and I would say, and I would, that's unfortunate, and we're surprised. I'm certainly surprised, Brian.
And I
That,
wonder what he got on his test.
yeah, I was
Uh,
just going to say, I'm surprised, but even with the surprise, I would tell you the variance that Brian's sharing with you, his is tighter than other test prep vendors,
that's right.
where people, the variance could be, 5 to 14 points. So, um, all right, on to the next one. Was not an option. You chose whether you chose correctly. So, there's 4 test questions about straddles. Can you identify a straddle? Different options, same action, right? So that means long put, or excuse me, long a put, long a call, short a call, short a put. Can you calculate the break evens? Can you determine where it's profitable? When do you use it? Now, Michael, the reason you're right is because straddles with different strike prices are called combinations.
That's right.
And you don't do anything different. If we didn't tell you it was a combination, and I asked you the break even, you would still take strike price plus total premium, strike price minus total premium, right? You would, if you're buying the combination, you're buying volatility, non-directional volatility. If you sell a combination, you're selling the volatility. So there's no difference in that other than identification. So you did answer it correctly. A straddle with different strike prices is known as a combination. So now, was that on his exam? Did you pass? I don't see a pass or a fail here, Michael. Did you tell us what happened to you? Did you miss your mark or did you pass? Give us an update. Failed by 3%. What's your advice? Well, I will link Brandon in the video description to a podcast episode I have on, you failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. I have 5 recommendations about how to respond to that misfortune. And I'll link either tonight or tomorrow in the video description. The first thing, take it a month again. The first thing I want you to do is sit down with yourself. Say self? No. I want you to do an intellectual inventory, debrief with yourself using the FINRA or NASAA, which depending on what exam you're taking, content outline. And I want you to go through there while the hurt is fresh, and I want you to put a plus. That means you intellectually own that topic. You don't think that's where you missed the mark. 0, you're at par, meaning, you could do better, but, you felt like you had a holding action there. Par means passing. It counterintuitive. We're looking for the minuses. Those are things where you go, ooh, I remember a question like that, and I was not prepared for that. And then what we want to do is work on turning those minuses into par into pluses. We want to overlearn and do that. Some of my recommendations, Brandon, too, are to, again, what did you do in your previous study effort? Because you don't want to do the same thing. You want to introduce a supplement, for example, or do you want to, start joining us on a Tuesday? What are you going to do different to kind of mix it up a little bit so you can, get back into that? So my advice is to check out that podcast episode. You could put in the channel search bar, fail, FAIL. That video will come up, but I will link it to the video description. Brian, your advice?
Yeah, you and I talked about this prior to going live tonight. How many people that we deal with that just miss this thing? 69, 70, 71s. I want to find 10 questions that are the holy grail that get people over that hump. And it's typically the 65 and the 66, right? Those are usually the 2 that we see that people are the closest.
Yeah.
Now, the things we can't control, you changing 8 answers at the end of the test.
Yeah.
you're taking over 3 hours to take the thing to begin with, because you're overthinking over, we can't control any of that stuff. But as far as content, I want to find 10 questions that are the holy grail for this exam. The last thing I do on this planet, I want to find it.
Yeah, I'm dating myself. Brian and I were just talking about how long we've been doing this. And, I came into the business, Brandon, before there was a 30-day wait period. And I would literally tell people like yourself that just queue it up again, because you could end up getting a draw that you could pass. Now we unfortunately make you wait 30 days. But that being said, I'm with Brian. What you're hoping is there's some commonality. There's some hole that you can plug to get you the 10 points. The problem with Brian's 10 questions is, I think, Brian, we have guesstimates of what we think that might be, but it could be different for each test taker. So, we can be helpful in trying to find those 10 questions, but that's what I meant by doing that intellectual debrief. You kind of want to see if you can find that hole. Now, the other challenging thing, Brandon, is sometimes I find that people almost passed everything. They didn't have an area that dragged them across the finish line. And sometimes that's not understanding weighting. So, for example, Brian, as we know, the NASA exams, we think is typical of this. And I'm teaching, and we've got some units in the 66 class today, Brian, that you and I know are only 2 or 3 questions, but they're like 50 pages, and they go on and on and on. And so, I say, listen, this is not remedies on the Uniform Securities Act is not a target-rich environment. Unethical business conduct, right? Disclosures.
That's exactly right. And the 10 points that I usually are referring to are within the circle of concepts that everybody gets. There's those 8 to 10 questions that are just those random, bizarre questions that everybody says, I've never heard this before. We can't control that. All we can control is that core content that everybody gets. And how solid are you on that?
The way I say it, Brian, is make sure you're staying on the broad avenues and highways of the test. Don't be spending time in those mental cul-de-sacs, those blind alleys. What I had somebody send me a question, Brian. I'm trying not to be mean-spirited, but the question was such that I just said there's no testable distinction there. You're trying to turn something into, a test question that isn't there. Right? I passed the 7 2.5 weeks ago. Yay! Gonna take the 65 before the end of March, the Ides of March. Your videos are so helpful. Right on. Brian's Profit Protect Matrix on the options combined with my matrix got me the 7. All right. So, we believe in having some kind of a matrix or beauty aerobic chart to kind of look at. Brandon he missed the 7 is what he's telling us. Well, Brandon, not over. Any suggestions of what I should keep reviewing before Friday 66? Well, Brian's, his PDF that comes with his courses is, I think, a great way night before, morning of, just to review and get yourself in the proper circadian rhythm. I wouldn't take an exam on Thursday. I would take my last exam tomorrow, because Thursday Thursday morning I study, but you want to primarily keep your rhythm. And then Thursday afternoon, you want to kind of relax, do whatever you got to do to put on your game face. Whether, me, I like to smoke a cigar and drink a scotch. Whatever works for you. I have a friend who likes to fish. I had a guy who was tutoring. Good news, he passed, Brian, but he said, Dean, that's not my personality. I said, I know you're a tiger and you can't change your stripes. And I know you're not going to follow my advice here that you're going to work your ass off on Thursday. Just do me a favor. Remember me in your brain saying, don't wear yourself out, right? You want to make sure you don't run out of fuel, Joy, before you stick the landing Friday. And particularly on NASA exams, Joy, you've got to be in top form in terms of your reading skills. And I know, Joy, that when I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. And so as much as you can, Joy, I want you to be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed when Friday comes to take your 66. So whatever you can do to kind of manage that. That includes, by the way, staying away from energy vampires, I feel free to tell people, hey, listen, I'm fragile right now. I'm taking my 66 Friday. Any space you could give me would be greatly appreciated.
Right.
Brian, I love my mom. You know that. But before I was teaching this morning, man, she was just wearing me out. I said, Mom, I got to save my energy. So if you're testing, you had somebody you love, you just tell them, hey, give me some space. Going for the SIE and picked up this study book, SIE Exam Prep by Learnick Press. I'm Tim. I've never heard of it, and that means I'm wary. As OGs that Brian and I are, I'm concerned when it's not somebody that we know to be reputable. I don't know if they're reputable or not, or know that it works. So, I have nothing to say other than I think it's a red flag that I haven't heard of that.
Right.
I've heard of, Notman, Past Perfect, STC, SIE for Dummies, it seems to focus on, another red flag. Listen, my SIE playlist is spot on, Tim. There are many people, if you look at the comments on my SIE playlist, who said they've only used my playlist as their primary study material in the past. So if they're diverging from what I have on my channel, I can't speak to Kaplan. But I can tell you it's a huge red flag because I am spot on the SIE. I've got, Tim, if you go to some of my videos on the SIE, I got 250,000 views with thousands of comments from victorious test takers who said, D, spot on. I would think, Brian, videos. Your thoughts on this? Brian would be a reputable writer.
Yeah, Dean's videos, Kaplan's QBank, and or my video course almost is enough to get you past that exam. I'm concerned a little bit about some of the major textbooks. The Past, I talked with a gal who's using Past Perfect for the SIE, and she goes, "Oh, I had this math problem. I'm having problems with the math. Can you help?" I said, "Yeah. There's only one calculator problem on the test." So she's doing all this math on SIE stuff that just isn't there. Dean's videos, Kaplan's QBank, and or if you can, my video course. Almost.
Tim, I'm going to comment on that. Brian. So Tim, here's the other red flag. I find that when people do something like you just did, they did it because it was cheap. And I don't know if that's true in your case, but this is not a time to be frugal. I understand when starting your career, you may not have the resources to hand Brian $100. I mean, if you do, please, you should do it. My stuff is free. Kaplan's not free. But, again, if you have the resources, don't be doing things just because they're cheap. If you are, make sure you're using it as a supplement and not your primary study tool. So, what you would be looking for, it sounds like you're getting, Tim, the opposite of what you want, which is non-confirmation. And that, whatever that says that matches my videos in Kaplan, confirmation. But if you're seeing all kinds of stuff that isn't there, non-confirmation, right? 74, 75, 80, Test Geek 79. Joy, I think you're in good shape. It almost feels good to be true. Well, don't outsmart yourself. I had a guy, Joy, this guy was on the channel and he told me his scores and then he was kind of like second guessing his scores in himself. I said, listen, don't get in your own head here. Just go take the damn test. Marcel, what did we do? What happened? We had a tutoring. I apologize. I know we had a tutoring. Did we move it or what did we do? Did we even talk or did we show up? I need to get caught up with you in terms of what happened because remember we put that on the schedule. I'm not sure if we agreed to move it or I don't remember spending the hour together. So just refresh my memory if you can in an email or phone call or whatever. I will certainly tell Mom hello for you. And we're looking forward to you getting out here to Las Vegas. So you and I and Brian can, enjoy some adult beverages and some nice carnivorous activities like a steak or something. I booked Wednesday, 7 p.m. as a placeholder for a discuss tutor session set for Saturday. Okay. You should have got a link, Jasmine. So I will check that and make sure you're showing up there. I remember, so kind of a Marcel, I don't know if it's, something on my booking page, but I remember we had something booked. I remember we didn't do it. We talked about doing it again, but when we're done tonight, I'll check and make sure you're on the booking page. If not, we'll figure it out. Past the 63. think I just choked. Well, yeah. So, Angelica, these exams, you can feel like you're failing the whole way through. And that's why you got to fight the good fight. Because I think sometimes when people feel like they're failing and they're not, they go, oh man, what was me? I have to take it again. B, who cares? D, C, B, A, I'm out of here. And then they get like a 69 as we were discussing. So kudos for fighting the good fight. I, Angelica, sometimes recommend that if you're, taking your exams, give yourself grace and permission to, along the way, take a strategic pause to gather yourself. Kind of say, take a mental trip to Tahiti and make sure you come back, particularly on that back stretch, because I think, Brian, sometimes people get those highs, but not passing scores. I think they just exhaust themselves before they get to the end. Absolutely. And then they're not at their best. So, absolutely. So, when you get into that like last 20 questions or last 15 questions, whatever it is for your number, and you should be doing a practice test to kind of know what your rhythm is. Make sure you give yourself permission just to, okay, I'm coming out. I got 20 more to go. Let's do, let's go. Right. I had some of the opposite, Brian. I think it's past perfect or STC, but they give them rows that go horizontal with green and red.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And, she still passed her exams, but her practice test, but she would start out off the rails. I mean, stuff she knew, but she was getting a lot of red dots. I said, listen, I'm not a new agey person like my sister-in-law, but listen, before we do the next one, let's just set the intention that we're going to come out strong out of the gate so we don't have to make up these, starting in the deficit, right? This is a starter. Well, thank you. 1 week. All right. I love it. We love it when victorious test takers, Matador, come back and share their testing victory. It's such a morale boost. It helps buck up other people. So thank you so much for popping in to share your testing victory. A lot of questions are very similar. I think I'll be purchasing Brian's videos. Please do for the next round. I think it's a great investment. It is really a great investment. I think what's really great, Angelica, about Brian's videos is I just said to our previous person is Brian's videos are great for confirmation. Right. So Brian talks about it. Your Kaplan talks about it. If your vendor, whether it's Kaplan or STC or Knopp and Marks, whoever talks about it and Brian doesn't. Brian, I told you, I feel like I'm Brian's defender some days. And, people buy his course and say, well, Brian didn't talk about this. And I go, okay, well, so why do you think that's the case? You think Brian's intentionally leaving you with a gap in your knowledge bank base? Or maybe it's because it's not on the test. Just saying. Brian does tutoring. He's a little more selective, more about it. Last time I checked, Brian, what was it, 150 an hour?
125.
125. Oh, I'll tell you what.
I haven't touched any prices in over a year.
Yeah, he's I get the impression that he, in the beauty contest of being a tutor or being the tutee, that Brian is a judge. He likes to make sure that and Brian, I probably should do more of what you do. I do have to tell people you're not ready for tutoring yet. But, Brian, I think is a little more making sure you're in the right space to begin tutoring than to just take your money.
That and part of that is because what you mentioned earlier, because of our time, we just have so many hours in a day.
Yeah. Passed my 7 last week. Woo! Your 7 is full registration, Dean. So you're a master of disaster. You're a jack of all trades, master of none with a Series 7. About the only thing you cannot do with a Series 7 is futures. Futures would require a Series 3. So I don't know if we're going to go through each license with you because this is, we have 30 minutes left, 20 minutes left. 66 means you're not only an agent of the broker dealer, but also you represent the affiliated investment advisory firm. And that means you can sell what are called wrap accounts. With a 763, you're just an agent of the broker dealer. So that would be the distinction between 763 versus 766. And, there's still people that do the traditional 763 agent of broker dealer or 663 agent of broker dealer. But, most firms now have affiliated investment advisors. Think here like Morgan Stanley broker dealer, Morgan Stanley wealth management. And Morgan Stanley brokers would have 7s and 66, so they could represent both the Morgan Stanley broker dealer for transactions that yield commissions or markups or markdowns, as well as charge investment advisory fees for the Morgan Stanley wealth management. But Wonder if recent past gives us more tasks eligible to do. Well, yeah, like I said, if you had a sponsor, Keaton, but you're also more valuable to the marketplace with a 7, and that doesn't work out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 5%. We'll get it for you. Yeah, the rush, Michael, man, it kills you. Kills you. Make sure you do enough practice tests to time yourself so you know what that time crunch is or isn't. Because, sometimes when that happens, I don't know, Michael, if it's in your case, but I get a little exasperated in general, not you in particular, Michael, but in general, Brian, I get frustrated when people tell me they had a time constraint on the actual exam, because the only way that could be is that they're not timing themselves on a practice test and doing a couple more than one to kind of get an idea of what it feels like to do that many questions in the time allocated. I had a guy at Schwab, and he was running out of time in the practice test. I said, well, we don't care about your score, my friend. We can't talk about a score until you can first get a practice test done in the time allocated. And Michael, that's the danger, right?
There's a reason for all of this. Too much thinking.
Well, as Brian says, if you're thinking, Michael, you're sinking. And I agree, Brian. People are turning aim and shoot point click questions into judgment questions that aren't there. But Michael, this next time, when you get that time crunch and that timeline starts collapsing on you, you still got to kind of own, right? And just make sure you're not getting frantic. What did John Wooden used to say? Be quick, but don't hurry. Right. Varies with the broker dealer. It certainly does. Average Quebec 82, 72. Oh my goodness. Keep going down. 50. Well, Lily, when that happens, I think you may just need to refresh and reset. You may be working too hard. I mean, it's I guess it's better you work too hard than not hard enough. But I don't know when your test date is. Let's assume it's a week. I would really consider taking a day off and just not doing anything and just refresh, reset, come back to it and see if your scores pop. I think that 59 could just be tired. I don't think you forgot like 20% of the information overnight.
Really?
Right. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And maybe a few too many practice questions.
Could be. Yeah. Brian and I, Lily, make sure you only do one a day. You're not doing practice tests is because you're a mouse in a maze and you get some cheese at the end. I can't tell you how many people, I did 4 practice tests today. And what a waste of your day. One a day, remediation max. I even think one every day is too much. Maybe, if you had 5 days, I'd say, Lily, how many are you going to do? 3, 4, right? So I could be, you're just exhausting yourself. And the problem with that, Lily, if it's not, and I don't think it is, knowledge deficit, a lot of times test takers just run out of fuel before they stick the landing, right? Their study plan has become so exhausting that, they're circling the airport and the test date is coming and you just run out of fuel. Is there anything you guys would suggest before you start the past perfect material? I'm averaging 77%. Well, Jake, I don't know about Brian, but first recommendation to anybody is to read the book cover to cover. So you need to read the past perfect book cover to cover to see what that all looks like. I know it's a hard read, particularly past perfect. Then I would go back and circle and start doing unit 1, unit 2. And Brian and I believe in rinse and repeat. Do your first chapter. You got a 7%. I'm hoping that's on 30 plus practice questions. Unit 2, pay attention. Second chapter, we recommend you do the quiz. You pass, don't move on. Bring up the caboose, right? So now you do a combined practice quiz of unit 1, unit 2, move on to unit 3. Brian, I think that's your thoughts as well, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, my inverted pyramid method. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Missouri Tigers. That's a good looking tiger there. I'm studying only watching your Wells videos. Okay, well, we're supplements. We're not substitutes, right? I haven't been hired by a broker dealer. It's trying to get that done, but I'm studying for the 7, but I'm struggling with asset allocation, age, to give people a percentage. So this is a cocktail party trick, but it'll get you to a 50-50. You take their age minus 62, right? Whatever age they are. I'm using me. I'm 62. So 100 minus 62 suggests the dean should have an asset allocation model of 38% equity, 62% debt. By the way, that, we certainly wouldn't do that in the real world, but in the fantasy land of testing, that will get you to a 50-50, right? So that's what I would do first. I take their age, minus 100 minus their age, and then chop my answer set looking for the asset allocation that's closest to that. That'll get you 50-50. Another trick. It doesn't say anything about Dean's tax bracket, right? That means you can toss out anything that has a muni in it, right? They say Dean is risk adverse. That means we go down on the equity allocation and up on the debt. So there's some helpful tips or tricks, if you will. Brian, you have any tips or tricks for this?
Yeah, I believe he mentioned he's watching both of our videos. If he has my video course for the Series 7, there's a downloadable suitability chart. It's got a timeline with asset allocations, the appropriate investments, and the associated risks.
Wow.
I think we're one of the only ones who have got the allocations, the objectives, the products, and the risks all lined up.
Wow. Well, I have something similar. I have an entire playlist that I will link to called Suitability. I have a suitability practice test. I have a suitability exercise that you can watch me do by myself or with a student. And I will link to that as well. I'll link to that. Missed the mark. Third time. Why do we have to wait 6 months? I don't know. Take it up with FINRA. Take it up with NASA.
Yeah.
As we say in the Marines, beyond my pay grade. Beyond my pay grade. Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. For protection, you buy the option. Indeed, Michael. For protection, you buy. For income, you sell. So right on. So I know that say protection, they say hedge. I know a 50-50, it's a long call or long put. If it says income, I know it's a short call or short put.
He's got half of it down. He knows that you only buy for protection and you sell for profit. Right. Now, the second thing you have to determine is whether the investor is long the stock or short the stock.
Mm-hmm.
If you're long the stock, it will be only these two. And if you're short the stock, it's those two, which seems to be counterintuitive because the arrows are in the opposite direction of the stock. Because again, we're protecting the risk side.
Yeah, the way I say that, Michael, on Brian's chart there, is you're interested in what we call the offset. So if you bought the stock, you want to be able to sell the stock. And if you sold the stock, you want to be able to buy the stock. Right? So that's what we mean by the offset.
So the long, if you're long stock, it's these
two.
And
by the way, you answered correctly on the combination. So I'm with Brian. It doesn't sound like you're too far off the mark.
No, it really doesn't. No,
in your options.
Close. Yep.
3.5 weeks. Are options, munis, and mutual funds still the heaviest? Yes. Oh, and I get asked all the time. The channel's been around for 4 years, and I can't tell you anytime. Oh, this video I'm watching is 4 years old. There's been no change.
I get the same thing. Yeah.
So if Brian and I felt the need, we'd make new videos. What would you suggest apps as a study prep? I'm not, Bob, informed about apps. Are there apps? Are there apps for the Series 7? I know a lot of test takers use Quizlet, for example. But I'm not sure there's like apps on your phone, or is that what you're asking me about? Maybe, Brian, we should come up with an app.
I had one.
Did? What happened to it?
But generally, they cost about $35,000 to develop. They're really labor intensive. It's difficult.
Wow.
One.
Missed my attempt. Got a 68. Well, as we said, that's not knowledge deficit, Chief. Using past perfect and achievable this time around. Getting 64s and 75s. I think the 64 is past perfect and the 75 is achievable. Next tip on the 31st, any advice? Well, Chief, we talked about how to respond to that misfortune. I think it sounds like you've got some good, new information to look at, new voices to hear. Be careful those voices don't confuse you. But I would like you to not have any below 60 scores. So I would like you to practice and drill and rehearse on those practice tests, do remediation, and make sure that data set is consistently in the mid 70s. That's what, 2 weeks away. So I think you can certainly do that. And I would remember, Chief, you didn't completely blow it. So it's not like you need to learn everything over again. You need to firm up what you know. You got to bring everything above par, as we mentioned, and you should be in good shape. I don't want to get you hubris here, but almost everybody who gets a 68 the first time passes the second time. As I said, right, you went into the cave to slay the dragon, that Series 7 dragon. You got a really good look at that dragon. You know what he looks like. So now you're going back into the cave with that experience. I think you'll be able to slay him this time. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm noticing that the 68% right in between the past perfect and the achievable. This is what I typically find. Past perfect usually scores them much more difficult, and achievable overscores them.
Chief, the way I say it is past perfect has positive variance, works in your favor.
That's right.
Achievable has negative variance.
It does.
You're going to score lower than you're going to get on that achievable.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Brian, I purchased 65. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
A bit soon, yeah. Missing a lot of order type questions. Lily, this comes up all the time.
It does.
I'll put in the video description a link to types of orders. I have a couple videos that I haven't had a chance to make yet on this. But bliss over slobs, it looks like you got it backwards. It's slobs over bliss.
Yeah.
And what slobs is to remind us about is what orders are above the market. Now, I'm lazy, Lily, so I don't remember slobs over bliss. I just remember bliss. Buy limits and sell stops are below the market. That's very testable. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of questions, but you're going to get it. And the reason it's testable is because buy limits and sell stops, whether it's a sell stop that turns into a market order or a sell stop that turns into a limit order, is going to be adjusted for dividends. We don't want that to be triggered as a result of the X day. We want it to be triggered as a result of market action. Now, if you don't want us to do that, you would tell us do not reduce. Now, when it comes to which one you would use for your client, market orders means I want immediate execution at the best available price. I'm more interested in execution than I am price. A limit order means I'm more interested in price than I am execution, right? So it's just like, just even outside the securities industry. I say, I'm interested in a pickup, but I don't want to pay $50,000 or more. So my limit is $50,000. I may not be able to get a pickup for $50,000 or less. And Dean doesn't care. A market order would be, damn it, I need a pickup. I pull into the dealer and I say, I'll take it. And he says, Dean, I haven't even told you what the price is. I goes, doesn't matter. Damn it. I need a pickup. So those are the two types of orders: market orders, limit orders, period, full stop. That's it. The only order that has no contingency, no qualifier, is a market order. Now, stop orders would be used to stop the bleeding, to stop the market action or initiate. There are three uses of a stop order. And whenever there's three of a thing, the thing they like is accept. A stop order can be used to stop a loss. That's primarily the test question. A stop order can be used to protect a profit. A stop order can be used to establish a stock position. And you say, well, Dean, I'm not interested in any of those. I said, well, then you're confused. So my customer is interested in stopping a loss on a long stock position. He's going to place his sell stop. I say, hey, Brian, let's pick up 1,000 shares at 50. I say, how much, Brian, are we willing to lose in this investment? He says, Dean, I'm willing to lose approximately 3,000. I say, okay, let's put a sell stop at 47. If the stock trades at or through 47, we'll pull the trigger. It will become a live market order, immediate execution, best available price. You'll lose approximately $3,000. Stop a loss. We buy 1,000 shares at 50. We place a sell stop at 47. Stock goes to 90. I say, Brian, we don't need to stop the loss. What we need to do now is protect your profit. I'd like to move that sell stop up to 87 to protect our profit. The third use is to establish a stock position. I say, hey, Brian, if it breaks through its support level, why don't we short it? Why don't we put a sell stop below the support line? And if it gets triggered and we sell, we'll be going short. So those are all the uses of a sell stop. Stop the loss in a long position, protect a profit in a long position, establish a short position if it trades at or through the support line. Buy stop. I say, hey, Brian, why do you want to tie up $10,000 in the stock? I'm looking at the stock and it's kind of stuck at 10. So why are we going to do that? Brian, why don't we put a buy stop at 12? And that way you still got your $10,000. And if the stock trades at or through 12, then we'll buy it. We don't want to get on board the train until it leaves the station going our way. So one use of a buy stop is to establish a stock position if it trades at or through the resistance line. We buy the stock, buy stop, or we can use it to stop a loss in a short position. Brian says, Dean, let's short 1,000 shares of SeaWorld at 40. I said, okay, well, at what point are we going to admit this was a bad idea? Brian, successful investing is letting your flowers bloom, but pulling your weeds. At what point are we going to agree this is a weed? He said, well, Dean, let's say $3,000. I said, okay, we'll sell short at 40. We'll place a buy stop at 43. You lose approximately $3,000. Stock goes down to 20. We use it to protect our profit, right? And so that's just practice, drilling, rehearsing. Now, Lily, I didn't ask which exam you're taking. And if you're taking a 65 or a 66 or an SIE, I just wasted a whole lot of your time. If it's a 7, maybe 1 or 2. Brian's got his board going. Brian, you want to point out the board?
No, I was just trying to illustrate exactly what you were just saying. Those stop orders are often put right at the resistance because once that stock passes, there's no resistance for this thing to go to infinity. Conversely, if it goes through support, there's nothing to stop it from going to 0. So that's where we put those conditioners, the stops, right at the resistance if we want to buy it and take off after the train leaves the station. Or if we want to protect against a loss, right before or right at that support, we'll sell stop, right? So that way it doesn't go to 0. So those are
right on. And then one other test question, Lily. I'll link in the video description to a type of orders class replay I have available for you. One other test question, low probability, is that buy stops can accelerate a bullish trend because of what Brian just said, right? As that stock goes through the resistance line, it adds more fuel to the fire. And that sell stops can accelerate a bearish trend for the same reason. It adds more fuel to that fire. Well, there you go. So, Lily, I don't know, were you the one who sent me the email that you wanted to go over all this stuff at our live stream? It sounds more like a tutoring session than a live stream. So, I think you need to lay some more base knowledge, more reading, more watching videos for that. But just quickly, I'm not going to go over it, but I will tell you what the test is used. Straddle, you've got to be able to identify the straddle,
or combination.
Or combination, as we discussed.
Right.
You got to be able to calculate the break evens. It's the only one on your Series 7 that has 2 break evens. You got to know where is the straddle or combination profitable in relationship to the market price to those break evens. When do you use it? I call it score for more, 4 questions. Spreads, you got to be able to do 8 things. You got to be able to identify it. We have a great memory aid device here, SODA. Same option, different action. Call, put, buy, sell. SODA. You got to be able to tub a debit or credit, exercise or expire, widen or narrow, max gain, max loss, break even, bullish or bearish. I call that don't hate the 8. Now, literally, there's 160 videos in my channel, and you can just simply put spread in there, and you can watch me do spreads with tutoring replays or straddles. There's an option playlist. And so I would suggest you invest the hour or two. Hedges are going to be stock positions. And so when you have a hedge, it's going to be buy, sell. You're going to net, buy the stock, sell the call. If it's buy, or sell, you're going to combine. The primary one there is going to be covered calls and protected puts on a long stock position. So it sounds like you need to do a little more work on laying that base knowledge, whether it's reading or watching my videos. I will link to the videos that go over both what you asked previously and what you're asking now. In the last minutes of our thing, it's probably not a good thing. There's Brian's options matrix, right? So
yeah, the shorthand version. Yeah.
Okay, so just forward the email
Yeah.
I received today. So please confirm if next week. Okay, yeah, I will certainly do that. It looks like how much time on 66 is 0 on straddles on 66. Taxes, maybe a couple questions, so not a whole lot of time on either one. All right. Ooh, the bell ring. Here we go. Brian, you want to put in the word for the coaching call?
You got it. Here it comes.
I'm hoping, Lily, you win the coaching call, because we win the coaching call, you and I can spend an hour doing what you asked about. Make sure, even if you don't, Denali, join us for our Q&A jam session. In the Q&A jam session on my booking page, you will find, Lily, that link. And then, in there we have a whiteboard, and I actually do these kind of things. I don't typically do on the live stream. What's the secret to not guessing answers? Well, not guessing answers. I'm joking. Trav, you just got to, go with your gut. I do this all the time, Brian. I'm teaching a class today, and I do this now every time. People will give the right answer to me in the chat, and they'll have a question mark. And Trav, I always say to them, the first time that happens, I say, we're going to be together for 3 days. And I don't want to ever see again a question mark in my chat. I said, so when you have a question on an answer that you're putting in the chat, I want you to put an exclamation point. Trav, will actually know that's a question mark. But everybody else will think, man, that Trav is really confident. And so that's the kind of attitude you got to have in your flash response, your first response. How many times have we tutored people, Brian, and I go, is it 53? They have that little questioning lisp in their voice, right? I said, could you please get rid of that? Let's just 53. And if I'm wrong, that's the thing. I gotta have a good attitude. Studying for 3 weeks for simulated. By the way, don't put that into the chat yet, because I got to get the wheel set up, and it won't recognize it until I get the wheel set up. All right. Looks like, Brian, we're kind of at the end here. So let me just, if we missed you, we'll be back Tuesday. Oh, man, everybody, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to re-enter the spring, because I haven't got the Wheel of Fortune set up. So let me do that now. Don't do it again until I tell you. Right? And the spring, you got to put it in exactly as Brian has it there. And so now you can, it looks like maybe it did pick up some of them.
There you
go. Now let me go get the Wheel of Fortune running. Boom. Let me go do this. Share screen. And boom. There we go. And let me get rid of Brian and I. Whoop, that's not what I want to do. There we go. All right. So 14, last call. Last call for alcohol. Okay, let's spin the wheel. 15. Okay, well, we still got people putting it in there. Lily, did you put it in? I hope Lily wins. Let me check and see if Lily's got her spring in there. Yeah, she's got it. All right. I'm rooting for you, Lily. I'm rooting for you. I think we're going to, I think Marcel, we're going to have to kind of say, Marcel can't win no more. He's won too much already. He's going to say, well, I haven't collected yet. All right, here we go. All right, Chief. All right. So remember, what you have won is not a tutoring session, at a date and time of your choice. No, what you have won is a coaching call. And you can go to dean10etutoring.setmore.com, go to the class tab, and you will see coaching call for weekly winners. You register, you'll get a Zoom link. I will show up, and we will talk about whatever you'd like to talk about in terms of your exam.
Mr. Past Perfect and Achievable.
Yeah, that's I probably put a note in there. The winner was. Let me get rid of that. Boom. Well, thanks for joining us. We're here every Tuesday. This is our ritual. You know, Brian, he has a life outside of this, so he joins us most Tuesdays. He's kind enough to join us. But how was the baseball game, by the way, last Tuesday?
Basketball.
Oh, it was basketball. How was it?
It was a conference championship, Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Wonderful. Great game.
Man, that sounds great.
That was a great game, and we found the best steakhouse in Las Vegas.
Wow. And who won, Gonzaga or St. Mary's?
Gonzaga won, yes.
Oh, I was going to say St. Mary's is in the Bay Area, and I used to go to St. Mary's to watch the games, and they're good.
They're very good. They're very good.
Oh, yeah. All right. So anyways, Brian's here most time. As I always say, remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. And Brian, you say?
Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
Woo! Woo! All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel.